dysfunctional vet. What we have here, this green thing right here, is a thrifty Tango Mike 34 Tango lift. Maximum altitude 34 feet, and I'm wondering if this one reaches that due to interlock out of adjustment stuff. It's also supposed to reach out about 20 feet to the side when you're more or less at about a 30-degree angle. And I'm wondering about that too, which would be an interlock preset stop. Not sure exactly what's going on. But let's look at this thing. I bought this. It's basically salvage. So let's go see why they let it go for such little money. This is the starter box. This is a 5-amp fuse. Here's the actual key, which does not work. A lot of wires have been cut. The low oil shutoff has been disconnected. It's pretty much a mess. This was held into this mechanism right here was held in place with wire ties, nylon wire ties. I checked the oil previously. There's the knob there, and that oil doesn't look like it's been changed in 100 years. In fact, I'm planning to put asphalt down and then put that down as a seal coat over the asphalt. It's that thick, that bad. To change the oil, I have to run this for just a couple of minutes to stir up the settlement, shut it off, and then drain it out. There's a drain on the opposite side that will allow it to go straight into my bucket, my catch pan, and I can deal with it. The air filter is clean. The hydraulic fluid is absolutely in mint condition, but I need to check its quality, so I'm going to send it for analysis. Now let's talk about the real big issues here. You can see the black and silver along here. These are 3/16 inch feed lines, and the insulation has peeled off, leaving the braid underneath. These need to be replaced. Up here, let me back this off. Up here there's a rack, and it no longer tracks where it's supposed to, and that needs to be repaired. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a roller down on this and hook it onto that to keep that on track. It's also missing a lot of screws off of the top of it, probably vibrated loose. I don't really know. Let's look at some other problems. Up here we have the hydraulic controls for the bucket itself, or the man lift cage, and these are sticky. Sometimes when you let go of them, they stay where they're at. I'm going to have this reworked. I'm going to get a company that specializes in hydraulic equipment to work on this, because they have the tools and I don't want to be buying stuff I'll never use again, I hope. Without pulling off the cap, just because at this time there's no reason to, I'll be going into that a little bit later. Right here we have the transformer for charging the batteries. And there's also a charger when the gasoline motor is running to keep the batteries topped off. Right here you have a big heavy switch, I forget what those numbers are called, and that allows you to disconnect all the power from this thing if you needed to work on something. So you could pull that out and the frame is disconnected, although the batteries would still be energized. I want to show you this because this is where it gets interesting. If you look here, these are the 3/16 ID hydraulic lines, and these right here are 3/8 inch. This is also a 3/8 inch if I'm in frame. These have to be replaced, every last one of them. There's a total of 10 of these at $4 a foot, and I think they're 40 feet. They may be longer, I'm not sure. You can do the math. It gets real expensive in a hurry. 40 times 4,600. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to find a source of these, and I'll have to find out specifically what these are. And there is a number on these things which can be matched to the fitting. I found a hydraulic crimp for hydraulic fittings. It's just under $600 on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that when I actually work on this. And if you want it now, I'll go ahead and try to remember to stick it in. One thing to be aware of, very, very, very important. These crimps have to be done in a very systematic way. You cut them, you need to run a pig through them to get the dirt out. And after you get the dirt out, what you need to do is crimp these things, and then you need to spec them with a micrometer to make sure that the crimp meets standard. If it doesn't, they're going to blow. And these right here, I think, have to come down to 0.561 of an inch. I'd have to check the specs to know, but the hydraulic press I'm buying just barely reaches this, and I may actually have to put some shims in there in order to get the actual size I need. And fortunately, you can buy shims at an auto store, and you can, like 1/10,000th of an inch or thicker, whatever you need, and put those on the jaws with some kind of a little sticky, and then crush these things. So let's move to the next fun thing. Down here we see hinges. There's also a hinge back here. These hinges are designed to be maintenance free. No oil, no grease, nothing. We have these banjo connections here for the hydraulics, and I don't know what those prices are. These are 3/8 inch, and this right here, this black line, is a power line that goes up to the interlock, which is on the feet, and there has to be a certain amount of pressure put on them to make those interlocks work. From what I can tell, this extra cord down here, you cut the wire tie, you feed it up through these tubes here, and then you can disconnect the foot at the top and get the interlock out to replace it. Now herein is a problem. If you go to the Thrifty website, finding parts for this is a bear. Sometimes they'll tell you what the part number is, but there's no prices, there's no nothing. And given the instability of a lift when it's off the ground, I do not recommend backyard engineering or shade tree mechanic fixing one of these. Fix that right, because if it goes over, it's going to kill you. This device right here is designed to hold the boom up if all power is lost, so it doesn't sink down. It's a safety feature, and it's a curse. On something like an Alltac or a T-Rex or some of the big, more industrial equipment, if you lose power, you have to get a mechanic to come out here and lower the thing manually. On this one, there's a bypass. I want to show you that. It's probably the best thing that's here. The bypass is right here. You can hand pump this, and then you can put the panel here or hit the control up or down, and this will allow you to either raise or lower the boom when there's no power, but it's not fast. That's a very small hydraulic pump, but that is an option, and it's a good one. Now the pipe is gone, but that's an easy fix. Just find something that fits on the outside of it, and life goes on. The one thing that I'm not real happy about on this is that there isn't a place to store things. You need wheel chocks. I bought 2 sets, so I'd have one for each tire. This thing rolls super, super easy. And it weighs either 31 or 3,500 pounds. There's data to tell me both information is right, and I haven't looked at the plate because I've been too worried about trying to find parts. But eventually I'll get that far. I just looked at the plate. This one weighs 3,100 pounds, so she is definitely bottom heavy. This is the spare tire here, and this is the jack. The jack works extremely well. I don't like the way that tire is done, because as you can see, it's pinching the wire. Careful. It's pinching the wires right down here, and I've got to get that fixed. But I'm planning to rewire this, so I'm not too worried about that at this time. The The tow hitch right here, I think this is an aftermarket add-on. I think the original one was the typical latch down, but this is a Bulldog, and that's real good. And right in here somewhere, there's a hydraulic brake. The line, let me see if I can, the line is right here. That's the hydraulic line. When you're braking, this pushes in on it and it applies brakes. The one big problem I have is I haven't been able to find the brake reservoir to check and see if there's any fluid in there. And the handbrake, which is right here, is not even connected. Those, if you set that thing all the way up, there's no braking on the wheels. So you cannot trust that as far as setting that brake if you're going to do something. But you need to chock the wheels no matter what. One other problem. If you see this thing right here should be sitting down in that. And while I was bringing it back, it raised up, and in order to get that down, I have to put the outriggers out. And that's going to be a pain. But that's workable. That should have a latch to hold that down so this thing can't bounce, but it did. So I've got to get that also repaired. And for the tie down, I'm going to probably use something like a ratchet strap. It doesn't take much to hold it, it just needs something. The one that was on there previously was like one of those straps you see on a bucket. You put it up, you put the pin over, and then you snap it down. But it's been torn off, and I don't think it can be repaired because the screw holes have been completely worn out and destroyed. For right now, this concludes the end of part 1 of repairing a thrifty Tango Mike 34 Tango. Dysfunctional vet out.